Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. All right, welcome in. Score didn't change much, Megan, from the first intermission. Avs dropped this one 1-0 to the Winnipeg Jets in Winnipeg. Megan, man, the Avs took over there in the third period. We're going to unpack all of it, but this has got to be one of the more disappointing losses of the season, not because it was by the worst margin, not because they got horribly outplayed, but in fact, the exact opposite. The Avs played a strong game here in Winnipeg. A small lapse there, less than 90 seconds into the game, ends up being what cost them.
It's really hard to shake out that way, because that's otherwise, 59 good minutes of hockey
Right.
that the Avs played, and they gradually gained more control of this game, taking it to the Jets in that third period, suppressing them, 16-4 in terms of shots, 6-1 high danger opportunities, so many chances created from that top line. Refs swallowed their whistles for the most part. So you reflect on that first period too. There's maybe 2 Rantanen calls that could have been made there that didn't. You don't think much of it then, right? Because at that point, it's just a 1-goal game after that lapse early, and you think they can come back from it because process-wise, they continue to do all of the right things. Kind of a similar story in that third period. They finally get that call, but it's just too little, too late. And it wasn't as if the Avs didn't try to create 5v5 the entire time as well. They did a lot of things right, and they just didn't get rewarded for it, which stinks. I've used the words deserved a better fate a lot to describe this team lately. That certainly is the story for tonight.
Well, and the power play that they finally get, I made the comment to you when it was called. I said, I almost kind of made this joke because, of course, you get the power play at really the one time. Not that you don't want it, but at a time where it actually benefits the other team because they can just take free shots at your empty net. So, it really even kind of comes, you don't practice 6-on-4 very much. There's just a lot of things about that where it's like, they could have used that earlier in the game. Let's start off the top here, Megan. We'll just kind of quickly recap. We liked their start. Outside of that first, whatever it was, 70 seconds. I really liked the way the Avs settled into the first period. Felt like they got off to a good start. Good road period here, Megan.
This is the first period.
The start, yeah.
Yeah. What I liked too, I kind of described it, you described it as stop the bleeding, right? They didn't bleed all over the place in the first. And I think wound care was important in the first period. After that first goal against, they patch up the wound. So their priority isn't necessarily getting dangerous and creating right away. They need to make sure that they lock things down in their own end. Ends with a great PK from them, which extends a little bit into the second, but they kill it off without question. And I think that they also get some staves from Georgiev in that first period. It just points to them settling down and locking in. And that's what kind of the second period then is. So really not even super upset over the first period. It's easy in hindsight to look at how much that one goal against then cost them. But it starts with an odd man rush, that has been where I felt were much better in their coverage on the rush later in the game. But it's been a sore point for them too. And it cost them in a big way.
I want to circle back to their rush coverage because I actually thought they got a lot better as the game went on. There were multiple times in particular where you noticed either guys coming back to support, guys making the right plays, the right reads, et cetera, et cetera. You mentioned at the end of in the first intermission, I want to see them keep doing what they were doing in the back half of the first, but get more dangerous. And that was exactly what the Colorado Avalanche did with every passing period, was they got more dangerous. They were generating more chances, getting more bodies to the net, shooting from dangerous areas. And they end up, after coming out of the first period, having given up more high danger chances than they generated themselves. They completely flipped that script. 5 high danger chances in both the second and third period. They got better as this game went on tonight, despite not getting one to go.
Absolutely. You look at the final total for high to medium danger chances that Hellebuck faced, and it's 19 and 15 scoring opportunities coming from the top line alone. there was variety in what they tried to create, and Hellebuck just played a classic Hellebuck game.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't for a lack of trying, and even the push, with the power play opportunity, gets them one additional high danger chance in that third period. It's really hard to criticize the way that they tried to create tonight. The volume has been there consistently for them, but I felt they did get more dangerous as this game went on, so it's hard to even critique that.
No, I agree with you. And the other player that I thought got progressively better as the night went on was Alexander Georgiev. I thought he looked sharp. I thought he made the saves he needed him, that they needed him to. And to my count, Megan, there were at least 3 saves that he made that were, okay, there's a big stop. There's a big stop when they need it, whether it was high danger chances or grade A's from right in front, or the 2-on-1 save that he makes late. It's deep. It's from an awkward angle, but he's able to get a push across, get a glove on it. They had to double check to make sure it didn't cross the goal line. But Alexander Georgiev was really, really good tonight. We mentioned that we wanted to see a good game from him, regardless of the result. Jared Bednar talks all the time. He does not judge his team or individual players purely on result, but on the process. For me, Megan, I thought the process was great for Alexander Georgiev tonight.
Even though the Avs limited Winnipeg's chances in terms of creating high danger opportunities, they still existed in this game. Going back to that first, the Kyle Connor breakaway shortly after that first goal gets a stop. Josh Morrissey wrister, then in the second period, Kupari wrister. Then in that third period, there's an Ehlers wrister early, in addition to the one that they had to review to make sure it didn't go across the line. Those are all key saves that kept this a 1-goal game, and it's important to take note of.
We mentioned that, look, yes, you want to get the result from Alexander Georgiev. Of course, you want to get the result from anybody, not just Alexander Georgiev. You needed points here tonight. It's November, folks. I'm saying that lightly. They didn't need the points tonight. You really wanted the points tonight. But within Alexander Georgiev's own, ecosystem and world of trying to win minutes in net, I thought this was a performance that he needed tonight. And I really liked the pushback that he showed after giving up one super early in this game. One that was, I think everyone can agree, not his fault. You can make the argument wherever you'd like that this is the NHL and it is fair to hold goalies to high standards, that you would have liked to see him come up with that as well. That's a you thing. I'm not going to tell anyone how to assess goalies, no less. But would have been easy for him to kind of crumble despite that one really not being on him. I thought he battled through it really well tonight.
Absolutely, because sometimes the conversation around Georgiev has been, maybe the team hasn't played great in front of you, but they did what they needed in terms of goal support to keep them in this game. So Georgiev, then you're looking at him like you just needed a save. That's not the case in this game, though the team in front of him did do everything they could to try and come up with that goal. Georgiev also made stops later in this game. And so I think that's the difference for both areas, right? Like Georgiev coming up with the saves is what he needed to do. And the Avs continuing to create, but also suppressing chances is what they needed to do. Both sides took care of business in a really necessary way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you here. I do want to talk about something that I'm already seeing in the chat here. And look, it's easy to point the finger at him on the first goal. I did not like the way he played the 2-on-1. Sam Girard did stick out to me as struggling at points tonight, although he had a shift or two there in the third period where I thought he really did some good things. Sam Girard, did that stand out to you at all, positively or negatively, outside of or including that first goal, only goal?
It was a perfect penalty kill, and he came up with some important blocks. So though you don't like the coverage on that odd man rush early in the first period, I did think that he was great on the PK, and he was coming up with some chances of his own in that third period, including a minute, like around the 6-minute mark. He has a wrist shot on that just to contribute to the shot share that was everybody all hands on deck.
In the same way that we've been saying for weeks, you're not going to, you just can't hold any player, whether it be a goaltender or whatever, to a perfect standard. You got to be perfect 82 nights a year. I did think this was a night where Sam Girard could have been better. And again, the only reason that I'm even picking on him is because he was the guy who was defending on the first goal against. And like you said, that you don't love it. You'd like to see him play a little bit better, especially when you see later in the game such a nice play on a 2-on-1 from Cale Makar. So let's go from Sam Girard, who I thought struggled a little bit tonight, to Cale Makar, who offensively, we didn't really see the flashes. I thought the coverage out high from the Jets along the perimeter where the Avs like to, use that umbrella a bit was tight, but I thought Cale Makar had a strong defensive night tonight.
He did, and it was both sides of the puck for him. Of the defensemen allowed some of the fewest shots against, tied with Calvin DeHaan at 5v5. But then on the flip side, the Cale Makar side of it, also creating a lot of opportunities, at least in terms of puck touches, moving the puck in the O zone, and, the shot right off the faceoff late in the game. We love to see that too. Like, he was involved in this game in different ways than, of course, the rush coverage on the 2v1 in that third period as well. I thought he was noticeable in a good way. I thought there were other players who were even more noticeable, but I thought the ways that I did notice Cale Makar were all very good.
And as they're pointing out here in the chat, 2-on-1 was also a result of a bad Josh Manson pinch. So again, the only reason I decided to pick on Sam Girard is because he was involved in that first play, and I noticed him a couple times throughout the night, maybe struggling just a little bit. But truthfully, I thought top to bottom, the Avs had a good night, and I thought they got better as the game went on. And that's what the numbers say as well, that the Avs got better as the night went on in terms of generating chances, in terms of holding onto the puck. Did you see a difference necessarily in the way that they were playing, Megan, from that first period, let's say the end of the first period to the third, or was it just sticking with the process and showing, yeah, we're injured, but we can still skate with the top teams in the league?
I didn't notice a difference in process. I noticed a difference in result, and that is why they were able to get a little bit more dangerous as the periods went on, because process-wise, they do a lot of the same things, but they also just seem to get a step better in terms of creation. But also, we talk about their rush coverage improving. That was incredibly necessary, and eliminating Jets' opportunity to set up inside their own zone. The Jets gradually spent less and less time in their own D zone. I think that's a big part in all of this as well. And that points to them doing some of the right things, but just getting rewarded in that way, at least. Obviously, we would have liked to see it be rewarded with a goal, but there is a difference period by period, and it's shown. The Avs are getting better period by period throughout this game.
Arturi Lehkonen takes a high stick there late in the third, standing in front of the net. It goes missed by the official. But again, it's funny to me. I don't know if funny is the right word. It's interesting to me how quickly Arturi Lehkonen has been able to assimilate back to game speed and is already 2 games in, back going to those dirty areas, going to the front of the net, everything that we've come to expect from a player like Arturi Lehkonen in his time here in Colorado. Second game back for him. He didn't score, so he didn't match what he did in night one. But what have you thought of watching Arturi Lehkonen here over these first 2 games?
He's stepped right in exactly where he left off with this group and with the players he's used to playing alongside. He gets an opportunity in the second period from a McKinnon feed, and then in the third period, he's got a wrister stop that he sends center mass. He's just reloading, rebounding so quickly, and getting these looks and receiving them without issue. The issue was Connor Hellebuyck tonight. That's really where it lies. Yeah,
you're 100% right. Connor Hellebuyck was absolutely outstanding. For my guy Brendan here, watching Nathan MacKinnon play when the Avs are down a goal is either the most exciting thing ever or the most infuriating thing ever, never in between. Look, Nathan MacKinnon's definitely a guy who is a give me the puck, I'll do it kind of guy, but I don't think we can sell short his ability to make plays and things like that and make good decisions, especially as as he's gotten older in the league and his game has grown. You kept saying all night, it's a Nathan MacKinnon type night. He needs a big moment. They didn't get the big moment in terms of a goal, but I don't feel like that top line, I thought they went in there and did their job.
No, I think the thing people are keying in on to maybe be critical of is, I talk about it throughout the game, how he's a conduit for offense and he's setting up a lot of plays. But I think there's a frustration near the end. Maybe MacKinnon should have just taken a few of those opportunities instead of defaulting to the pass. And I think it's easy to say in hindsight because they were successful passes.
Right.
The shot that followed was just stopped by Hellebuyck. So begs the question, would it have been a shot stopped if it was MacKinnon at the helm? It's hard to say. Again, in hindsight, it feels easy to key in on it. And I think that can be a point of frustration with MacKinnon sometimes, but it's true of all the top guys. We found ourselves seeing out of Mikko that we just want to see him shoot. And then we saw him shoot a lot to start this year. And when he did, it was just getting stopped by goaltenders. And so I think there's a little bit of a pendulum swing that happens here. I didn't hate the way that he created opportunities throughout this game. I thought that he gave his teammates opportunities to get dangerous.
I agree with you. There was really only one moment. I mentioned it in the first period that I wanted to see them shoot the puck a little bit more. It felt like they were looking for really nice passes. There was one moment in the third where they worked the puck down low to Casey Middlestat, who I think is a guy that right now you want the puck on his stick below the goal line looking to distribute. And everyone kind of like went out to the perimeter and loaded up. And it's like, if you're moving that puck down low to Casey Middlestat, you're not putting him in a shooting area. You're looking for him to distribute. I would have liked to see, again, on that one particular shift, a few guys more kind of darting through the middle, filling those lanes, going to the net. But overall, I think this game, process-wise, you've got to be relatively happy with what they did in the offensive zone. And after a slow start shooting-wise and chance-wise, I thought they got better for the final 40 minutes. And you mentioned his name already. Connor Hellebuyck was special tonight.
In that third period, there's a sequence from like 6 minutes to 8 minutes where the Avs just laid it on. Mm-hmm. And it was from a variety of shooters and a couple of different looks, but Hellebuyck and the Jets had an answer for all of it. It was probably the most dangerous the team looked in this game. And that's where you just have to give Connor Hellebuyck his flowers, to include the way this game closes out. It's TJ Tynan moving the puck from behind the goal line. Casey Middlestat's maybe not familiar then in anticipation of that pass from that player, kind of being the guy then that's more so at the net front in that situation. Yeah. But that flurry of chances that they attempted to create with the man advantage late in that game, we're looking at each other like there's just nothing more they could have done here.
Yeah. I was snickering to myself a little bit, Megan, in the first period, right as it was dwindling down. TJ Tynan had the puck coming to the neutral zone. I made the joke to you. I said, TJ Tynan, first NHL goal to tie the game. So when that puck hit his stick in front of the net late, I was like, come on, no way. Interesting question here, Megan. And I know how I feel about it. Curious for your take from Cameron. Are you concerned about the production of LOC and Taves, two guys that have been struggling to begin the year? It's a fair question. These are two guys who last year, Logan O'Connor, career high in goals. Devon Taves has been a key contributor to the Avs production the last couple of seasons. Look, it's slow starts. These are both players that don't necessarily pick up points and globs, consistently. So I have a feeling for me, it's going to come. It'll come around for those two. Logan O'Connor also went a long time without playing hockey, coming off his surgery. And we're still just a dozen games in. Any concerns for you from those two?
No, with Logan O'Connor, it does feel like he just needs the spark to be lit for him to sort of take off, because then it seems like it's a momentum building thing. Then game by game, the production is up there, but his shooting percentage is down significantly from where it was last year, even before he missed time. Guy coming off a pretty serious hip surgery. So just wanted to see him get up to game speed, and he hasn't looked like he's missed a step. In the opportunity he's been granted, though, playing in the top six, you maybe do want to see a little bit more production. That's where I could see there being a fair argument to want to see a little bit more from Logan O'Connor. But with everything he's doing on the penalty kill, it's just hard for me to have a criticism of him, because he is such a big contributor to this team right now, especially being so short-handed. It's hard to have a criticism. Taves is the intriguing one in all of this, because even Bednar, when asked about his performance so far, kind of had a lukewarm answer of he's just been okay. So he's somebody that I'm looking to curiously to see kind of what's the solution there, what's the answer there. I think he can come up with a few more points than we've seen so far.
I think you make a great point on OC. This is a player who's right now being asked to play well above his role. What I think has made Logan O'Connor so dangerous for the Avs that he's such a potent bottom six player, third, fourth liner, that if you can have him cast there, that's where he really shines. Again, I said at the beginning of the year, and I stand by it, I think he can be a 15-goal guy. He was last year. I think he can do that again. He's maybe being asked to play a little bit up in the lineup, a little bit extra responsibility. That's a player that I imagine that, one, as he continues to get these reps in, again, keep in mind, you're a dozen games in. He went however long, 6+ months without playing hockey, let alone at NHL game speed. As the injured players come back into the lineup, he's a guy that I expect you'll see that production tick up a little bit more, and you'll get more Logan O'Connor games. I feel like we've really only seen one of those from him so far this year.
Yeah, and it's still been really great from him in terms of just being a versatile player that they can plug into their top six when they're down so many guys and not look out of place there. In terms of stopping the bleeding, that's what Logan O'Connor is. He's wound care. He's a bandage right now for the top six, and he's done a great job of that much. Obviously, you want to see him be more of LOC that can turn some of that into production, but I've liked what he's done so far.
I think he's been good given what you were expecting, as is the case with every player. They can always be a little bit better. You can always see them play a little bit better. Winnipeg Jets moved to 13-1. They're the second team ever to do that, to start the season 13-1. I told you during the game, Megan, I said, I just don't think the Jets are this good. I think they are, and that is not to take away that they're not going to be right there at the top of the division, top of the conference coming into the season. But I just said, man, this team really got up against the Avs last year, and you said this isn't a contending team. They looked shell-shocked by the speed of the Avalanche, by the way the Avs embraced it, physicality. They didn't have the horses to go head-to-head with Nathan MacKinnon, Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen, and they got a little bit worse in the summer. I think this is a team that is playing really well right now. You got players like Kyle Connor, who I think very highly of, Mark Scheifele, and then Connor Hellebuck is doing this in net, putting on a Vezina performance. I think the Avs should feel good about the performance they went in and had tonight against the Winnipeg Jets, given where the Jets are sitting, given how hot this Winnipeg team is.
That's where I'm looking at the save on Ehlers and giving Georgiev some credit. Ehlers has looked like Nikolai Ehlers to start this year. He's been dangerous for Winnipeg. And so I think that collection of players, then the Kyle Connors and the Hellebucks and the Scheifeles, Velarde, has made them dangerous to start this year. And so for the Avs, defensively, to have contained them as much as they did is something that they should be proud of.
We're going to start winding things down here as we wrap this one up. Avs drop this one 1-0. It's a rare 1-0 game, Megan, especially in today's NHL. I feel like you don't get a lot of these. I feel like you don't see as many shutouts, let alone, again, and especially because when that first goal goes in, essentially dueling shutouts here for 59 minutes of the game. This was a game that you thought maybe the depth, and look, like the top guys played a lot of minutes, but you thought maybe the depth, the young guys would get exposed a little bit. Thought they held their own early on. You and I were speaking about Ivan. Nikolai Kovalenko gets out there as the extra attacker for a couple shifts. Thoughts on the young kids holding their own against a tough Winnipeg team?
Yeah, I like different little things each period too, right? Like Prishepov in that second period and Ivan coming out of the first, or I might have that flipped. Yeah, I have it flipped. Prishepov in the first, Ivan in the second.
Yeah.
And to the youth point too, like also just the depth point. I liked what Wagner brought to this game. And I like what he brought to the penalty kill. I liked that he was trying to get involved and create some havoc at the net front. That ended up being some of those high danger chances that were tallying now here at the end where the Avs took a lead. And I think on the whole, I really like what the depth did. It's a little hard, right? Like that's where the finish maybe doesn't always translate from one league to the next for like a Prishepov or a TJ Tynan.
Right.
And that's where you see some of the shortcomings of having so many guys trying to fill in NHL roles that are still trying to get up to that speed. With the young guys in mind in particular, there's a few moments too that you might find yourself wishing Ivan would use his feet just a little bit more because he's such a great skater. But you still really love what you saw from them, and they didn't do anything to make themselves a liability. And I think that's what's really important to note here too. With
young players, that's a great point to make, man. With young players, there's so many times where it's like, oh, I didn't even notice him out there. That's a good thing. Ivan, 10 minutes, 34 seconds. Again, in a 1-0 game against this Winnipeg Jets team. I feel like it would have been really easy for Jared Bednar to just staple some of these guys to the bench. Chris Wagner, I'm with you. I thought he was effective in his minutes, but didn't play a lot. Again, Ivan continuing to get a little bit more trust. A guy like Yoel Kiviranta that we know Jared Bednar really likes, really trusts the way that he plays, has gone back to him now, for 2 seasons. Just 251, so not a ton more for a player like Yoel Kiviranta than Ivan. been very positive about Alexander Georgiev. I'm gonna be a little bit nitpicky because I just saw the replay again of that first goal. I don't love the way he plays that. There's a bad breakdown from Josh Manson, bad pinch. I really don't like the way Sam Girard plays that 2-on-1. And part of the reason why I'm high on this game from Georgiev is because I thought he was settled. I thought he came in, he settled himself in the game. He was finding pucks, he was swallowing pucks, wasn't giving up rebounds, tracking well. He was in the right spot. But I just see the replay of that first goal, and it was like he played it really chaotically, which has been my issue with Georgiev this season, is that he hasn't been in control. I know I'm being overly critical here, and I know it's overly critical, but I just want to see him take a lot of what he did for 59 minutes tonight and bottle that up and just bring the craziness of the way that he's playing, the jitteriness of the way he's playing down to match what we saw him do for so much of this game.
I think I can share in that assessment a little bit because I gave him some credit for the push from one post to then pivoting to now Velarde being the threat instead of Scheifele.
Yep.
And I like that he did that pivot. But to your point, in doing it as quickly and as chaotically as he did, he's falling to his stomach then.
Right.
And that is what keeps his body down and able for Velarde to just wait a second and lift it over him. It's hard to say if that would have looked any different. If Georgiev was a little more calm in that push, his body would have been more upright. There just would have been more chest and pad to potentially stop it.
Give yourself a chance.
That's a super hypothetical. So I can kind of understand the criticism, but I could see why if he was just a little less chaotic in that push, his body might have been up a little bit more.
And there's also communication that's got to go in there. And of course, we can't hear how they're talking back and forth. But to me, it looked like both him and Girard took the shooter. You know what I mean? Like both him and Sam Girard said, well, we're going to play this side. And so to your point, when he did have to make the push, he was having to push all the way over. I'm not going to bury Alexander Georgiev in this game. I'm just not going to do it. But that goal, that push is maybe just a little bit of a microcosm of what has led to Georgiev getting off to the rough start that he has. And I want to see less of that and more of what we saw the rest of the night. He has a very similar play later in the game where he makes a strong push from one side to the other. And is he standing upright? No, but to your point, his body's up, his pad's across, and his arm is on top of the pad, sealing that just over the top and giving him a little bit extra. And it's the arm that makes the save. He's just in a better spot. Less chaos, less jitters, and just more in control. When he plays like that, I think he's a really, really quality goaltender. And we saw multiple flashes tonight where I thought he played like that. And I think it's part of what makes that first one that much more frustrating. We know it's in him. He's just got to play like that more consistently.
And the good thing about Georgiev is he's really good at separating his individual game. And so he's going to probably, even though they don't get the winning result, still feel pretty good about what he did and how he moved on from that first goal because he did get more calm in that as the game went on. So I don't think this will hamper his confidence. And it can't. He can't afford to let it. But I'm encouraged by even the in-game response that I saw from him. Well,
and this seems like the first game for me that Alexander Georgiev can take some positives out of. Look, the Georgiev stuff is out there. Kept it to 1 tonight, gave his team a chance all the way to the bitter end. I think this from Vaguely Sober sums it up. Literally, a micro slow start cost them. The Avs made a couple bad decisions on the first, 1.5, 2 shifts, and it ends up in the back of their net. They play a really strong game after that, and they just can't get one to go. Big credit to Connor Hellebuck, of course. From Vaguely Sober, super chat. We love you as always. Was the ghost of Kiviranta bugging Jesse at second intermission? That must have been what it was, because I checked under my hoodie and there was nothing in there picking me. So it was
hilarious.
It was Ghost Kivy.
Ghost Kivy bothering you.
Yeah, giving me the old
astral projector.
Yeah. Megan, anything else from this game? A strong effort from the Avs. They just come up a little bit short.
Yeah, absolutely something they should build on. Reinforcement is also on the way. Like Duran's super duper close, right? It just gets better from here. So I hope they are also just feeling better.
Jonathan Drouin is super, super close, allegedly. Well, I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay. like I gained optimism because the way it was framed the last time we heard was like, okay, it's probably not this upcoming game, which gave me room to believe it could be the next one, which is this Saturday. So I guess we'll find out more come Saturday because they don't practice tomorrow. So we'll see them when they take the ice on Saturday for morning skate, see where they have him on the power play, and that will give us some indication of what might be going on.
That will be the tell 1 week from tomorrow. Do you know what that is, Megan?
Is that Val Nichushkin?
That's the Val Nichushkin target return date. We'll see if he's back in the lineup that night. The Avs are hosting the Washington Capitals. He could get back in the lineup against fellow Russian Alex Ovechkin, who's on a tear right now. I think that's going to do it for tonight. We'll be back on the road here starting with the next trip. It'll be a little bit of an extended trip. We aren't going to let you guys go that long without hearing from the team. So we'll be back to a little bit more of our regularly scheduled programming. But anytime we are not on the road, you will catch us right here for intermissions and for postgame. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Big shout out to John, our studio manager, John, a titan in this industry here locally in Colorado. Been around for forever, and he does amazing things for us. Helped us pull this all together tonight. Megan had a ton of fun. Looking forward to doing this again.
This format.
Looking forward to doing it again. But for John, she's Meghan Angley. I'm Jesse Montano. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, hanging out with us all throughout the game. And now after, if you're here in Colorado, stay safe on the road. Snow is coming back with a vengeance tonight. So be safe out there. Take care of yourself. Stay warm. Stay dry. All that good stuff. Guerilla Sports Off Ice. We will be back at it tomorrow, 1:30. We'll talk to you then, guys.